Halloween
Forever.
Welcome, boys and ghouls, to another, actually a very special Minisode of Halloween is Forever. I'm Brian.
I'm Meg.
I'm Steve. Still champ.
He is. That
For
is true.
now.
That is true. I mean, his days are numbered. But welcome. We are going to have, if you didn't listen to the last episode, you may not have learned yet that this is going to be a very special, little different format episode than we've done in the past. We are going to do, some normal spices and snackies and sweets and spookies and all manner of things like that. We got some beers to talk about. And then we're going to talk about Meg's recent trip to NOLA. She is not allowed back. But she had a fun kind of museum experience that we'll talk about. And then we're going to do a little Q&A. We had some questions submitted from some of our social media friends that we'll get to, maybe a handful of them. We'll see what the timetable says here. But if you come up with any questions, we'll probably do this again, depending on how it's received. And there were a lot of questions submitted, which was really fun. And keep submitting them, because we'll put them in the old hopper and we'll use them next time around when we periodically do a question and answer episode like this. So, cool. Last week was Thanksgiving, and we talked about blood rage.
I'm still drinking gravy.
Yes, drinking gravy. I'm still drinking things and then declaring that they are not cranberry sauce, just so everyone's on board. Although, Steve, what you're drinking does kind of look like cranberry sauce, to be honest with you.
Yes, but it's not. But
no.
It looks.
If somebody told me that is a cranberry sauce beer, I would absolutely agree with you. You know what? Let's jump right into it. What kind of beers do we got here, guys?
I grabbed out of my cooler a beer from our friends at Hop Farm. And it is
you're drinking Hop Farm too.
Yeah, I know. So I was like, you have one too. Called Bellini Racer. And it's a wheat-based sour with peaches and apricots. And as always, the artwork is always amazing. I worked with Hop Farm on a collaboration a while ago and met their artist, Monica, who she paints all of their labels then they get turned into a graphic and they make the label out of them. And it's always freaking amazing.
Yeah, they do a nice job there, especially with the graphics. I am also drinking a beer from Hop Farm. Malcolm, who is one of the folks who run the show over there at Hop Farm, and he was over at my house on Friday night. We were doing a little Cicerone study session for him and Mike T. Mike Tazarchek from the Pittsburgh Brewers Guild. Mike's getting ready to take the certified Cicerone exam, so we were doing a little off flavor training and style identification, stuff like that. But Malcolm brought me a 4-pack of his London style brown ale, which is right up my alley. It is called the Old Codger, 4.5% London brown ale. Not what I would call one of the beers that's hot with the kids in the streets nowadays. But this is exactly the type of thing I want to drink, especially this time of year. It's kind of just like brown malt forward, roasty coffee, a little bit of residual malt sweetness, really low hop character, and super sessionable.
You know what I think we need to do is, with all of these beer styles that aren't that sexy, but a lot of people that we all know will get super hyped over them. Yeah. I think we just need to get louder about it and to start overhyping how fucking dope. And we should find our own, we need a cool, hip word,
for boring beers.
Yeah. Absolutely.
No, I totally get what you're saying, because that's when I go into a place and they have a 10 degree Czech lager on, and they're like, nobody really gives a shit about it. That's the thing I get psyched about. Yeah, for sure. If you have a Helles on, I'm like, oh fuck, I'm gonna drive a distance to drink this Helles.
Yeah.
I think the way to go about it is finding a way to use the word Play-Doh to really start selling it more. Because most people, I would say, non-brewers and anybody who's in the know, I still don't even know how to do it, and I homebrew. Yeah. I don't know how to measure Play-Doh, but find a way to make Play-Doh the cool hip word
Yeah.
that turns people on. It's like, oh, I got that low Play-Doh.
Yeah, just
You know?
to check that just approach the kind of the check approach to it, where it's like, oh, we have an 8 degree, a 10 degree, a 12 degree, a 13 degree, an 18 degree. But it doesn't tell you anything about what the beer is about. like how there's just these like unspoken rules of like, the 10 and the 12 are pale. The 13 is probably dark. The 18 is like dark or amber, maybe pale. Like there's just these unspoken like weird rules that unless you know Czech brewing culture, you won't have any fucking idea why.
And just covering our butts for our non-beer nerd listeners. Play-Doh is not that doughy substance.
No, not Playdo.
Yeah.
It's Plato, Plato.
Yes.
Original gravity. Things. Guys, get with the original gravity. And the thing to make it even more just like completely confusing and more boundaries to entry is it doesn't really tell you necessarily the strength. It just tells you the potential strength of the beer.
Tells you where it starts.
Yeah. So it doesn't necessarily, but it kind of does. But in any case, or we can go back and start using the old German like strength designations and call things like Vol beer and all that type of stuff.
Or you could go to the Belgian, the fake kind of triple X. I got that triple X. I got that 4X.
Yeah, see, that sounds sexier. I feel like there's more to do that.
I don't know if Southern Tier maybe had co-opted that type of thing though and made it a little more modern in their own way.
Times.
They always do those 2 times and 3 times shit.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Everybody knows this is 2 times and 3 times. You got to do the X. X is sexy. Doritos, Doritos in the extreme games will tell you that.
Yeah, D-Generation X.
Exactly.
Suck it.
Attitude.
Break it down.
I do everything that I brew. I try to insert some sort of like attitude era sensibility into it. So I can appreciate
You're
that.
always you just like start your brew day off slamming 2 cans together and pouring it all over yourself.
Yeah, I do like the Shane O'Mac, like kind of like dance, like walking down, into the brew house. Yeah.
People have to hit old cash registers for Brian to enter their brewery.
No chance. Yes, so I am drinking an old man beer that is unabashedly old man themed. There's literally like the old man hat, pipe, and bow tie and stuff on the label here.
He's about to go into a nursing home.
I actually recently put little tennis balls on the bottom of my walker.
Oh, there you go.
So I won't scratch the floor.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a pro move.
Yeah.
Also, it helps with stealth.
So I can sneak up behind people.
Right.
Snap their neck.
Sneak up behind people. Tell them long stories that they can't escape from that they didn't know was about to happen.
Back in the day, they used diastatic brown malt. 100%. That's what a porter was in my day.
Do you know the difference between a sickle and a zoigle? I'll tell you.
Well, the zoigle's the star they put above the house when they had fresh beer. Just slide into that accent. What do you got, Steve? You got goddamn kid beer.
Yeah, so you
drinking dessert over there.
I'm drinking Child Times.
Yeah.
So you already mentioned it did look like cranberry sauce, which is a reference to our Blood Rage episode. And it's funny because you're drinking Hop Farm and they actually have a cranberry sauce
They
sour.
do, yeah.
So, you're right.
Yeah. But what I'm drinking though is a sorbetto from the Evergreen Brewing Company out of Camp Hill, which is in the middle of fucking nowhere, as I understand. This is their number 35.
They've done a lot of these fucking... And sorbetto is such a fun word to say in
right.
the Yinzer accent.
Yeah. Well, they have sorbetto, and then they also have Yinsbetto.
Oh, do they have a Yinsbetto?
Yeah, they have. They have a Yinsbetto.
What's the Yinsbetto made?
It's still the same kind of stuff. It's just
Gotcha.
They just tailor it more.
Did they collaborate with someone here to do that? Because that would make sense.
I don't know if they actually collaborate. Holy shit. Dunked on that word. Collaborated.
Well, I say they might have had to collaborate.
I say there, boy.
Just turned into
Foghorn Leghorn. I say there, boy. You got to collaborate.
You got to learn how to collaborate.
No, I don't know if they collaborated with anybody. I think it's just more of a specific marketing where they're just like,
yeah,
these
they know
are
who they're
for
going
your
after.
yeah, these are for your area.
I thought it maybe was like a steak salad flavor or something like that.
It's coming up. They have, like I said, this is 35 of the sorbetto. They're probably up on 4 of the Yinsbetto. They just throw a whole bunch of shit into a sour ale. Yeah. And this one is a bunch of strawberry and Oreos.
Oreos.
Whoa.
Did not see that. I mean, it is. You guys can't see it, obviously. It is. It is a dull crimson in color. I mean, literally, if you said that's cranberry, I mean, it's definitely that color. That
if
hue.
it was some sort of like separation of blood, like it's not full blood, but like half plasma or something.
Yeah. And like I didn't go. I did stop at that brewery. They're really close to Mellow Mink, which I'm sure you probably like. They were advertising on like the Brewers Network for a long time.
Oh,
like,
I don't know what Mellow Mink is.
They do a lot of different like sours and stuff
okay.
like that. But yeah, so they're really close to Evergreen. But I mean, you're literally within a half hour to Trogs ish. It's all out in that area. If you're ever making the trek over there, all worth the stop.
All Pennsylvania. So
yeah.
I also just realized we have a delightful pairing in front of us. We
Jesus
have
Christ.
Meg is very nervous. We have so we do have some spicies and fishies and spookies. So the spicies and the fishies are the same one. We have another snack, yet another from this lovely care package sent from our wonderful friend Jen Strang. This is also from Totem Smokehouse in Seattle's Pike Place Market. This is double smoked wild salmon jerky, and the flavor is smoky jalapeno pepper king. And it looks spicy. It got a lot of seeds on it and all that sort of stuff. It looks delicious. I feel like when we had the salmon candy, which is the sweet one, which let's reiterate because there has been some confusion in the past. It was not candy.
Yeah,
it was
not candy.
Excuse me.
Meg has Meg has been running into a lot of confusion in her life about what it is and is not candy.
Okay, I conceded that the meat from last week was not candy.
Yeah, you did eventually.
But
it required some convincing. Yeah. We had to explain to you that if the first ingredient in it is pork, it can't be candy.
You know what, Brian? I think I know where the confusion arises.
Okay,
though.
all right.
Stop.
Because Meg, as previously mentioned in previous episodes, she grew up, in a Swedish household.
Right.
Excuse me.
And
Are
perhaps,
we going over the Swedes now?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Perhaps her Halloween was different from ours, in which she was gifted herring when she went to door. Yeah.
Salmon.
Eggs.
Candy of the sea.
I am just not going to deny any of this stuff.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Boy,
trick or
that is
treat.
intense. I ripped the label off and it is, oh my gosh, it smells good though. It smells a little tiny bit like a dog treat, but in a good way.
Just how I like it.
Yeah. I'm going to grab me a nice healthy piece there. I'll pass it around. It does smell good though. It smells very savory. The last one smelled like so sugary sweet.
Yeah. I can see what you mean about like the dog treat.
A lot drier because it doesn't have a lot of sugar on it. So, I'm gnawing at it.
So this might be spicy, so
It's a little spicy.
it's definitely hard.
Very chewy.
I don't think my face is saying good things right now.
No.
Yeah, there's definitely, I don't know. I don't know that I love this one. There's something very dog foody.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to finish it.
I think it's also like the intense chewiness makes it seem like it is. Meg's face is one of utter displeasure. Don't worry, Meg.
We
Be
got
sure
something.
to chase it with this Rebel limited edition eggnog hard latte.
Oh, yeah.
Here.
Hell yeah, brother.
I mean, that sounds like a Swedish national dish, like salmon eggnog.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think they?
It is our national drink. I can't speak for the whole country.
Cream salmon.
Yeah. Holy moly, it's hard to get through with the chewiness. It has.
Is it just
piece
because
was-
of the
I don't think my
chewiness,
piece
not
was
the
as bad as
I
flavor?
must have just got a really thin piece.
Yeah.
It was super chewy.
I'm gonna say it's just the chewiness. It's not the actual flavor.
No, I don't care for the flavor either.
I kind of like it.
I like the spiciness on it, but
It
I
has
don't.
a nice heat to it.
Yeah.
It has now permeated my mouth.
Yeah. But everything else to it, it just, I don't know. It felt like meaty fish, but like not, I don't know. That doesn't make a lot of sense.
You know, it's probably because
I
it
get what
said
you're
it's
saying.
double
It seems like it
smoked.
almost should be beef, but there's
Right.
a fish flavor to it.
Yeah.
I can see that. I also think it's just because like of the smoking, because it's what they said, it was double smoked too.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're getting a lot of probably
Maybe
like
that's what it is.
earthy
Maybe this-
characters.
yeah.
Just like
What it reminds me of, it reminds me of beef jerky,
Mm.
but with like a bunch of like fish sauce or something on
Yeah.
it, which I did
But-
because I fucking love.
Yeah, I'm like, I could get
bulgogi
behind
beef or something like that.
I could get
Bulgogi
behind
pork.
that idea though.
Yeah.
I actually absolutely really do fuck
You
with
know
that.
what? Actually, next time I make
It
beef
is
jerky,
hot,
I
though.
think
it's no joke. It's got some heat.
Yeah,
to
it's
it.
got a
I
nice
think that
spice
might
to it.
actually be a good ad next time I make beef jerky. Is a little bit of fish sauce.
Oh,
That would actually
Yeah.
be really
I
fucking good.
put fish sauce into anything that I can hide it in. I fucking love fish sauce. I love most things that are like questionable, like a questionable choice to put into something. That's the thing that I like
I
most
think
about
we're
it.
learning this about you
Yeah.
more and more.
I have questionable taste. That is accurate. So to chase that, because listen, when you think about some fishy spices, you want to bring it right up and follow it up with some Warheads. We have
Spicy, then sour.
yeah. We have Warheads grubs, which I think are chewy, right? They're not Warheads in
assuming,
the
yeah.
sense of like a hard candy, which I do love Warheads, but these are
Mm-hmm.
Warheads grubs, so they're like little short,
I'm
like
assuming-
gummy worms.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's their brand of gummy worms.
Yeah.
They just can't say gummy worm.
Yeah, they're just little shorter
Yeah.
gummy worms. Here, I'll pass this on
So
to
they're
you.
probably going to be giving Sour Patch Kids a run for their money.
Yeah, they have 5 fruity flavors. We have R.I.P. raspberry. See, I love if you just take a flavor and just say something
make it
spooky ahead of it.
Give it the old Simpsons treat.
yeah, exactly. Treehouse of Horror, the name up. We have R.I.P. raspberry. We have occult orange, scary cherry, cackle apple. That's a stretch.
Cackle apple.
And Luna lemon. The fuck does that mean?
Moon lemon.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Moon,
Yeah.
Oh, I guess like a moon. Okay,
Right.
like a full moon.
Like
whatever.
a werewolf.
Yeah. Like one of them werewolves.
Like a werewolf.
I could totally fuck with these.
I'm gonna do. I can't get away from occult orange.
I think I got a raspberry one, and that was pretty bomb.
I got some raspberries.
Yeah, I'm here for it.
They're good. Yeah.
I like the texture of them. Not too soft.
Yeah.
I like to work on a. On
You
a
know
gummy.
what? You know what though? I kind of wish they would have figured out a way to make them more tart, because I think one of my favorite thing about Warheads in general is how
Intensely.
they're
you know
so
what?
intense.
Yeah. These aren't completely on brand with Warhead.
The
'Cause
extreme warheads,
Yeah.
especially.
Can I
they could
actually grab
take
a
your
couple
breath
more of
away.
those?
Oh yeah.
I actually really like them.
I don't hate them after the salmon either. Like, listen, I'm going back and forth, guys.
It goes perfectly with the quote unquote beer that I'm drinking. So
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. You pretty much melt those down.
right.
That's what you're drinking
Yeah.
already. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I'm gonna ferment some of these grubs and start a brewery.
Dry hop your brewer on the grubs. Yeah, those are fun. Okay. So we got beers, we got some snacks out of the way. Meg, tell us about your trip.
So I actually wrote notes on 2 different spots because maybe what was it, like a month or 2 ago, I went to Detroit, and one of the first places that I went to was the Anatomy of Death Museum there. So kind of had a similar vibes and whatnot, but I do want to give a disclaimer for all the things that we're going to talk about, that we do not encourage or promote serial killers or people harming anyone, and we're not glorifying
Listen,
this.
guys, we're taking a hard stance. We do not advocate serial murder.
Please don't serial kill in our name unless you have over 50,000 followers.
Then let's at least have a conversation first.
Maybe we can do a collaborate.
Collabo murder.
Collaborate.
Cababler.
Okay.
Collabo murder.
So the first one, again, this was in Detroit. So the first thing you think about with Detroit is like, Motown, automobiles, and
Sure.
probably pizza, mainly pizza for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's like my favorite thing. But when I usually go to a city, I'm like actively seeking out anything that could be like spooky, macabre, just like I like kind of seeing what that city has to offer. And I have been guilty of dragging people to those like ghost tours, which are generally just bad.
Yeah. I'm a sucker for them too, though. I love them. I actually have a story about one I was going to tell later, one of our questions. But yeah, I'm a sucker for those.
Yeah, I think it's great. And I've like been to Detroit countless times, so it's honestly one of my favorite cities. But I found the Anatomy of Death in my search, and it's about like a little bit north of like Detroit proper,
Okay.
in Mount Clemens. But their tagline is they feature over 30 real human medical skulls and skeletons in their museum. So the great thing, like you walk into it and
Meg walked in and was like, I'm here for the bones. Where the fucking bones
that's
at?
the same tagline.
Hey,
I have on
our
my
Ian's
Tinder
got
profile.
Yin's got skulls.
It's got some skulls here.
Well, like I walk up to it. So like cool shit that's outside is like there's this hearse that has their fucking logo on it, which is great.
Yeah.
And then there's like
I've
this,
always wanted a hearse.
I know,
We
me
talked
too.
about this.
Yeah,
I
we
always
have
wanted
talked
a
about it. And there's like this cool like carousel horse that's painted as a skeleton. And you walk in and that's pretty much where their shop is. So they sell a lot of odds and ends, and like you can buy some old like medical tools that they've clearly been like, these are worthless to us, but you can have them. They'll sell like wet and dry specimens. Like I actually bought
Oh, come on. You can't just gloss over what you just
slipped that in, didn't you?
You can't
Of
power
what?
through.
Specimens of what? You need to be more specific when you say things like
I will
that.
send you guys a picture. I did walk away with a dry pig fetus and
Nice.
a bat that
You
like
making
can
stock or
Is that a snack for a future episode, or what are we?
are you just going to display that?
Is it jalapeno?
Yeah, those are the wet
Salmon
specimens,
flavored.
dude. They're soaked in that.
Salmon flavored pig fetus.
But yeah, I've seen they have a
That's
bunch
an
of
album
different
name.
wet specimens. Like I saw snake and a bunch of other shit like that, which is
Okay.
cool.
Oh, that's just wine.
That's true. We're just talking about liquor now,
Yeah.
actually. But when I was like walking around, the guy who owns the shop was just hanging out there, and the flannel that I was wearing, I have this back patch on it that says "fucked by Satan" on it, and it's an old band T-shirt that I had. So, but he like saw it and was just like, "Oh, I really like your shirt." I mean, he's a very kind person, a little bit too forward, whatever. But he was just like, "Yeah, it's funny because like in my motorcycle club, my nickname's Satan." And I'm like,
Oh, okay.
"Okay."
He's been saving that pickup line for a while.
I'm sure I'm
You
not the
made
first
his day.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah, not the first person. So, anywho, me being me, I still just like struck up a conversation and let him know I was from Pittsburgh. And him and I think it's his partner, not Mimi, not just in the business, but personally, they also do a lot of the boudoir like photography and stuff.
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
there's actually a whole room like you can walk into and see old photos and like a bunch of other shit.
Do they take the photos with the wet specimens?
You probably can if you
Okay.
want. I mean,
On the sheet that you fill out for your boudoir photo session, it's like mood lighting, dry or wet specimens. Like there's
It's like a purgatory checklist
I just
where you
wanna
go
see
through and
lighting.
you just check snake jar, pig fetus,
Could
3
you-
skulls.
Could you put a marshmallow on top of my pig fetus and then quickly roast it with?
I just imagining when you said that I was like, imagine just mood lighting, but you're putting it behind one of these wet specimens, so you just have the
Right.
shadow all over your face. That's super sexy stuff.
Yeah.
But they were.
I'm imagining like that scene from Flashdance, but it's just wet specimens coming out. Just
I
formaldehyde
hate
and
every
pig fetuses.
ounce of what's going on in your guys' brains. So what
Give
they
me that spicy salmon in me. Get all ornery.
Roll full of spicy and sour.
So he shared with me that with that side of their business, they'll oftentimes like go to a city and rent an Airbnb and do all these like sexy photos for a lot of people who do OnlyFans and stuff like that.
Yeah. This is a horror movie.
Yeah.
This is getting a horror movie. We ran an Airbnb.
He did not
We do
ask me.
sexy
He did not ask
specimens.
me, so we're okay. Like,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, there was that balance.
Yeah.
But he did mention that he was familiar with Pittsburgh, and he like called out Trundle Manor and whatnot and stuff like
Yeah,
that. So that was kind of cool. But because I was traveling, he just let me into the museum for free.
Oh
you know,
my
I was like
goodness.
just using my satanic feminine wiles to like get into this museum.
Yeah.
But it was cool. So in his spot, it's a self-guided tour, and I actually liked their walkthrough even a little bit better than the next one, and we're going to talk about, because there was like such good detail on the self-guided sheet about like each different item, like where it came from, like what does it represent. But he definitely highlighted one of their new items they got were these heart wet specimens, and like one was like a healthy heart, and then one was like I can't remember what it had, but it had like this fucked up heart. It
Worms or
was just
some
like
shit.
deteriorating and mildly brown, and I'm just like, yeah,
Fake
I'm gonna
heart.
quit smoking
Yeah.
and I'm gonna go to the gym right now.
Yeah.
Do not want my heart
That's what
looking
my
like
heart
that.
looks like. Yeah.
Oh, and if you do want to go to the store, it's $15 because that seems to be pretty standard. They have a lot of like ritual items, even from like some indigenous people. Like one of the pieces I love, they had the skull set up with this like headdress that had these huge fucking horns. And I'll probably in one of our TikTok videos, like I'll send you guys and we'll post it about. I'll find some of these photos that you can see. But that was actually really fucking cool, just kind of epic. I was like, man, it's kind of very Viking-ish, and I kind of want
it
that.
Like on the front of your car, like you know, people put like the long horns in the front of the big old Cadillac, except for it's a human skull with horns.
Yeah, for sure. So and they have a lot of stuff related to like post-mortem care and like embalming, like makeup and chemicals and tools, and they also have some like antique beds, like where people basically would be embalmed on and stuff like that. They had old coffins, which I feel like I find it always really creepy in these situations when there's like the kid one, but they always fucking have one.
Oh yeah.
And it's like super creepy, and I'll talk about that for the next place that I visited because it was worse there.
Question.
Yeah.
Do they have a My Little Mortuary makeup kit in the gift shop?
Oh my God. I don't think so, but I feel like I want that. As an adult,
is an
I want
Etsy gift waiting to happen. My Little Mortician.
Oh my gosh.
Easy Bake Crematorium. There's just infinite opportunities for morbid kids' toys.
Do you have a child who's just into death?
Yeah.
We've got something for you.
Creepy crawlers not enough for your kids?
Yeah. My kids are definitely at that age where like they just are kind of learning about like what being dead is.
Okay.
So everything is, but what if that person died? Or like what if they were dead? And you're like, yeah.
Yeah, what if?
Because they're just learning like kind of what that means.
Yeah.
You know? So
that's a rough one.
Yeah,
Good luck with that,
It leads
dude.
to a lot of awkward conversations.
That's pretty great. Yeah, I think like even like the Museum of Death, they really want to focus a lot on education and showing the history and stuff of all these things.
And then also here's like this saw that's used to cut people's heads off.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
oh, but also here's how someone died super horrifically. That was worse than no
Here's
one.
what half a dog looks like.
I did see just more recently, they have the super rare funeral home national tomb salesman sample, which is like a mini like coffin setup that shows like how you would drop it into a hole and stuff like that. But it's like a small one, like literally a salesman, like this is how you bury
it's like
someone.
a model.
Yeah.
See, that's cool. I love like anything that has to do with like, the business of death.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this is how we sell coffins to people. Like that's the most. I was just at a funeral recently, and I wasn't like, this is fucking sick. But it was definitely like, I always take note of like the people, like the or just the people working at the funeral home and stuff like this, and like what it must feel like for this to become very, very normal.
Yeah, I just worked with this woman that I've talked to you guys about. Her name's Heather, and she's a mortician, and she like does all this stuff. And like, she just moved out to Seattle, and her job now is more about like if people die and they're like organ donors, and like a hospital needs a piece, she's the one who like tears the body apart to like give that piece to the hospital and stuff. Yeah. And I was kind of trying to probe her on that and like ask her how it feels. And it's like, it is this desensitization. Oh my God. Desensitization.
Yeah.
I got it. I'm
desensitized.
Guys, we're 20 beers deep.
We're all foghorn leghorn by this point.
Desensa, losing your sense.
Oh, hell, losing your sense. Yeah, it's because I have friends who are like doctors or surgeons, you know, and stuff like that. And it's like, how quickly does cutting into somebody's abdomen become very normal for you?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know,
well, she was talking
to,
about
obviously.
a snap, like when she was like cutting a leg, and I'm just like, like I just like subtly did that.
Yeah.
I I just find it really interesting. She was also telling us how it's super lucrative if you want to be a body remover, being like you're the one who goes to where that person died and you pick them up and then you bring them to where they need to go. She's like, yeah, if you're on call, it's like $75 an hour. And I'm like, how soon can I start? She's like, you don't need a degree or anything. And I was like, shit. This is unskilled paid work. Yeah. Holy shit.
You just need like a dolly and like some like garbage bags, like I guess contractor bags. Like,
what do you think they do with the body? Like,
that's
you don't
what I'm
think?
saying. I don't know.
Whatever.
How do you get it out of there?
Imagine, but I mean, I'm sure you'd have to deal with a body that has like maggots in it, or like is like its liquids are now coming out of the body.
Well, that's why you have the contractor bags.
Listen, that's why I always go for a dry specimen if I can.
Always dry. So
they're way lighter.
So less gross, more mundane. I used to work for a auto parts delivery service.
Yeah.
And there was another auto parts warehouse that I used to pick parts up at. And the warehouse right next to it was all coffins.
Oh, really?
And so like you could look into the coffin warehouse and it was just weird because it was all just, blue collar guys, humping coffins around, and they were all like categorized, and you could see into the back where they had just like stacks of baby coffins. And there was like,
God.
Yeah, it was just like Jesus.
Stacks of,
right.
That is a album name.
Yeah,
Stacks of baby coffins.
Because it's like an IKEA more or less. Because you go in and they have everything. Set up by, SKU or whatever. And it's just
very funny if there was an IKEA section that was just coffins.
You build your own.
All the coffins were called like Gorpschnap or whatever, but they were called baby. But in where's IKEA from?
Sweden.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say Sweden.
Yeah.
Guys,
but in Swedish, Gorpschnap means baby corpse.
God.
Sweden rules everything around us.
Yes.
You can make
what I'm
all
learning.
you want.
And then they have really little tiny
Your
coffins. They're
shirt.
only like as big as a beer can, and they're for herrings. Like if your family herring
coffin.
dies.
Your family herring. Also, your shirt is Swedish flag colors. Let's be
you're
real.
right. It is.
Oh no.
But it just says lager,
taking over.
Lager.
You guys just hang out with me long enough. You guys will start speaking Swedish.
We'll start sweeting.
Sweeting.
See, the thing is, we started this podcast after Midsummer, so
That's true. Next year we come around.
next year we're in trouble.
We're fucked.
Man, I can't wait till we talk about that movie.
Can't wait till you sew us into a bear corpse.
How would you prefer to die? Falling off a cliff?
Yeah, I'll take that. I'll dive, grab my ankles, and just...
Compared to the Blood Eagle, yeah.
I think I will.
A little better.
Oh, man. So that's Detroit. It was cool. It's pretty small, but I still thought it was pretty neat.
Oh my God, a ghost.
Yeah, I saw that before. I didn't want to point it out because
Guys, we need to describe to you what's happening. Bruce, Meg's dog, is on a chair behind us, and he's completely wrapped and covered in a white towel, just relaxing. And every once in a while, he stands up and walks around and lays back down. It just looks like a ghost on the chair.
Yeah, and the chair is moving like by itself. And it's just...
So
he doesn't think it's funny. He's annoyed.
It's like, give me a treat now. Where are my cookies? So now we're going to move on to New Orleans. And I just went to New Orleans a little over a week ago. Probably when this comes out, it would have been a couple weeks ago.
Not haunted at all.
Not haunted
Yeah.
at all. But when I went down there, I mean, it was a 24-hour trip. So I was like, I had goals. One was a po' boy and one was the Museum of Death.
Yeah, sure.
Which is dope.
That classic combo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which was like kind of like interesting that the artist, I went down to go see a show and the band name is Amigo the Devil, and he's like this like folk singer songwriter type guy, but he like writes a lot of songs about serial killers and like even just like the Jonestown Massacre, like Dahmer, like all of these people, and it's like he has really cool writing. So definitely check it out. Now I was already familiar with the Museum of Death, so I really didn't have to like go searching for what I was gonna do while I was down there. It's really close to like the infamous Bourbon Street and the French Quarter, and this tour is also a self-guided tour. They were a little bit more protective, so I wasn't able to take a single photo inside. Like, unless you're in the gift shop, you can take photos, but you can't take photos like when you went back on the tour.
Yeah,
Whereas,
that's pretty typical, right?
Yeah, I mean, the Anatomy of Death one, he didn't really mention it, so I took a lot of photos and videos, which I'll share when we put this episode out. But this museum itself was founded in June of 1995 when J.D. Healy and Kathy Schultz really wanted to like fill a void of like education around death.
Mm-hmm.
And they pretty much made that their life's work. And there's a lot of controversy. Because you think about it, in 1995, like this stuff, like us all talking about like spooky shit was not as prevalent. Like, and it was kind of like you were the weirdo then.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. I think people are like desensitized now because true crime, documentaries, podcasts, TV, like all of this stuff is so in the zeitgeist right now. Yeah. And like, I feel like even 5 years ago, it would have been like, if you walked up to somebody who was like, hey, do you listen to like podcasts about serial killers? They'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Because I remember when I first started getting into like true crime podcasts and obviously been into horror a lot longer than that, but like you would meet somebody. So like my friend Meg, who I used to work with, not this friend Meg, a different friend, Megan. We don't even call her Meg, we call her Megan. So I don't know why I said Meg, probably because she was sitting right there. My friend Megan, who's also a brewer, coincidentally, we just kind of got off on a topic or whatever. And she said, we were talking about podcasts. She was like, oh, and I also listen to this one, it's about like serial killers and stuff. And I was like, me too. Like, and all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, you're into fucking weird stuff too? Yeah. Cool. But now, like, I feel like it's so mainstream now.
Yeah. You have no problem. I have like no problem being like, these are the things that I'm super interested in, and it's not weird.
Yeah. But I mean, you're talking 1995, so you're just kind of on the tail end of the Satanic Panic.
Yeah.
And then,
so it's still real in people's minds.
Yeah.
In a lot
wasn't that when like John Benet Ramsey died around then
96.
too? Okay, I was like, it was right around then too.
Good Thanksgiving callback.
Legs are harder to close than the John Benet Ramsey case. Guys, tune into our Thanksgiving episode.
And then like that's also the time when like Doom had just come out too on the PC, and like so all those violent video games and everything was tied to
very much. And Tipper Gore was losing her shit over it, and
totally. Let's see. So they have 2 locations for the Museum of Death. One's in Hollywood, which from when I was just prepping for this, the one in Hollywood is like closed currently for like renovations, and I think or they're moving or something like that. But because I was just out there too, which I was like, why didn't I go see the one out there? Like,
I've heard of the one in Hollywood. Like I feel like I've heard other like podcasts talk about it or something like that.
For sure. Yeah. So let's see. So like they house the like world's largest collection of serial killer artwork, antique funeral ephemera, mortician and coroner's instruments, Manson family memorabilia, pet death taxidermy, and crime scene photographs. So, but they do say like each location is very specific. And I actually have a feeling they probably moved some stuff from Hollywood over, because like when you look at what is supposed to be there, I could tell that stuff that was in Hollywood is definitely, I saw when I was in New Orleans. So it was pretty cool. So I'm just going to list a couple highlights. I think like if you start having interest in like these collection of murderabilia stuff, you start seeing like the same names over and over again, because like a lot of these serial killers, when they were in jail, like they knew how to play the game a lot. So like their art and like their work can be readily found, even though it's still rare and like really cool to see. Like, there was a lot of Otis Toole and Henry Lee Lucas stuff, but Otis Toole did a lot of artwork and drawings and stuff like that.
Wasn't Otis Toole like incredibly stupid?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And there was
he just doesn't strike me, because I mean I know the story of him and Henry Lee Lucas, because he was like Henry Lee Lucas's like little stooge, right? Basically. Like I always say he had like an IQ of like 40 or something.
Like, they were just dumb as fuck. Yeah, because I don't know if you guys caught the movie Henry Portrait of Serial Killer, which Michael Rooker, you're just like,
that's one of the most genuinely disturbing movies I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like like it just for whatever reason was so triggering to me. Like there's one scene where you're like, I feel like I'm watching a snuff film.
Yeah.
It's intense. It's an intense movie. It's a great movie. Don't get me wrong. It's a fucking masterpiece.
It was an early example of like found footage. So like it's not something that you saw too overused at that point, and then Rooker's just intense as hell.
He
so.
is. He's so fucking good, dude.
I think
he's great in everything.
Yeah,
absolutely. He has like a huge, like, you can see a bunch of the movies, but I think the first time I really like knew who he was like Walking Dead.
Walking
and, like,
Dead.
like,
that's where I think like the mainstream really got to know him a lot.
Yeah.
But, he's in so much.
I knew him from Slither, so
Slither. He's so good in Slither.
But also like Mississippi Burning. Like I'd seen that movie. It's not a horror movie. I mean, it's horrific.
Yeah.
But
and I feel like with their story too, like, because I feel like they were so unintelligent that like it made everything they did even that much scarier because it was like such an instinctual fucking thing.
If they can get away with this, anybody can get away with it kind of thing. Like these two dumbasses.
Yeah.
Like I get it. Like Henry Lee Lucas was like cunning in his own kind of way, but like it was just like berserker, psycho, opportunistic.
Yeah.
You know.
Like that's a lot of them though, because like another one's like Richard Speck. He was like another guy that had like an IQ of 70.
Yeah, he's like the something vampire.
No, that was somebody else.
Oh, okay.
But also that guy was stupid too. But
we're seeing a theme here, guys.
But no, Richard Speck was the guy that like strangled a bunch of women in a sorority house.
Oh yes.
Yeah. But they're all like they're just impulsively and dumb, and like their dumbness keeps any like thought of don't do that because you'll get in trouble happening.
But I think in the other side and like why they got away from it is because they were like resting on like instinct so much it still somehow allowed them to go into that fight or flight and they were able to like get around a lot of things, and that's why some of them haven't been caught and shit like that. So but what I was getting at too is just like I think when you start seeing these collections over and over and you start seeing similar things like come up, so I don't want to downplay how dope the whole collection was, but you did see a lot of Manson stuff, so I'm basically going to highlight some of the things I felt like were things I haven't really seen in other like visits to things or collections I've experienced. One of them, the first one, where they had letters from this woman, Dorothea Puente. So she ran a boarding house in Sacramento, California, and murdered various elderly and mentally disabled boarders before cashing their Social Security checks.
Oh, holy shit.
So her total count reached 9 confirmed murders and 6 unconfirmed. But the thing is, they also had on display is that she has a cookbook that I do have on the way right now.
Oh, no.
She wrote the cookbook?
Yeah, these are her... Because they were like, no, she's been accused of a lot of things, but being a bad cook isn't one of them. Like, I think that was the tagline. You know, I was like, I'm very curious about this.
Is she alive?
I actually don't.
I was going to say, was
think
this like
she's,
published posthumously, or was this something that? Because normally people were convicted of murders. It's against the law to make any money off of your off your crimes.
Right.
No, she died in 2011. She was born in 1929. She was old as fuck when all this was going down. So.
I see.
So just real quick, I know it's sort of divergent, but it calls back to our Tokyo Gore Police episode. Remember we were asking about who is Maria Gonzalez? That was one of the killers that was injected into the key man. I looked it up. Maria Gonzalez and her sister ran a brothel in Mexico.
Okay.
And they have like 91 kills.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
They themselves killed them.
Yeah.
Did they say what the motive was or like what was going on?
They just killed. They just killed.
That's fucking nuts.
Yeah, they just killed. They had a brothel and they killed.
It's wild because like you think about like
killed other women or killed men?
I think it was men mostly.
Okay, that's what I was gonna
I think
say,
they
like...
killed everybody, but I think it was mostly men. So it was mostly like Johns who came into the brothel that day.
Sure.
Wow.
Yeah, it's wild.
Where did they put the bodies? See, this is why I am the way I'm just like, where do you like? I mean, it is Mexico, so maybe it's a little bit easier.
Yeah,
I don't fucking
it was
know.
probably. I'm guessing. I didn't read the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's just something I found quickly, and then. But I'm guessing they just hid the bodies in the back of the brothel, and if they were tourists from America, then there's a whole lot of problem like investigating.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So.
Well, I was just down this rabbit hole not that long ago on Wikipedia, and everyone thinks of like the United States as like being the serial killer capital of the world or whatever. South America has almost all of the most prolific serial killers come from South America.
Wow.
Like Brazil and Venezuela.
There's one guy, he has like 300.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
These people just went on for years and years.
I had a note about this, and I just like want to say, because I feel like I get so fascinated by this stuff, but it's like not like this morbid like curiosity. Maybe it's a morbid curiosity, but it's just like, I don't understand that sort of mentality. And just like that instinctual drive that like, whether it was like nature versus nurture, or like you were treated like shit and you just like something triggered in your brain and this is the only way you can get your I don't know, like I guess
the
trying to
mystery
understand
around
things.
it is the most intriguing part, I think, for a lot of people.
Just like, what the fuck?
It's honestly like, I hate to equate it to this because I'm not trying to like give it less gravity than it deserves, but it's the same reason why people were so obsessed with, if you look on the surface or if you just like quickly describe the like the plot synopsis of like the Halloween movies, like in the Halloween franchise, you know, like there's nothing particularly special about like a Michael Myers or something. It's the mystery of like why he does what he does and how he does it and why, kind of thing. And I feel like that's a similar instinct for people to be interested in real life serial killers, because it's kind of the same thing. Like, why do they do the things that they do?
And they so often can't even explain it themselves.
Right.
So
yeah, there's actually, I mean, it kind of equates to what you're talking about. There's a newer podcast on the Last Podcast Network called Someplace Underneath. And I think like that it drew me in immediately, but a lot of the stories surround just like missing women. And it's like, so they give as much.
That's the one with, isn't Henry Zabrowski's wife?
Yeah.
What's her first?
Natalie. Natalie Jean.
Yeah. She.
from Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Is she from Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I feel like they were here during the summertime going to Kennywood and shit. They were posting.
Oh,
That's
really?
cool.
That's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. But yeah,
I just remembered we have tickets to see them.
Yeah.
In the spring.
Yeah.
There you go.
April. Yeah. But I think like that's exactly it. It's because like even most of these episodes end with like, we don't know what the fuck is next, but they're trying to give like levity to the story and get people talking about it, and they usually do donations based on like what the episode is. But I think you're right in that like mystery of it all is kind of what really strikes it all. But moving on, so similarly to like the Anatomy of Death, there was a lot of like death like post-mortem tools, similar like, you know, embalming stuff. But the one thing that really stuck out to me, because it's something I really love. They have a lot of like, talks a lot about like, they had a section where they were doing a lot of memento mori stuff, which for if people aren't familiar with what that is, it's like, it's a Latin term for remember that you have to die. And it is like an artistic symbol or trope acting as a reminder of the individuality or inevitability of death, usually represented by a skull. So, but many artists have used it in other ways, like they'll use rotting fruit, they'll use instruments or watches, hourglasses and stuff like that. But it's all about this idea of like, live now because you're gonna fucking die. And like, I'm trying to think if maybe in the last couple of years I started getting into even more Stoic philosophy, and like that's like a big thing that they talk about. But
is it like, are they like trinkets kind of thing, or like what?
They can be a lot of things. They like, so artists use them a lot in paintings, and like when I was like looking up just specific examples, like even Pablo Picasso, I wrote down a couple other ones. Albrecht Dürer, Franz Hals, Maria van Oosterwijk, Vincent van Gogh, Pablo Picasso, like I said, they have actually like incorporated this into some of their work.
Oh, I see. It's a symbol that's incorporated into their art. I get it.
Yeah.
I get
so
it.
whether, and I've seen like even now, like for example, my entire back is this huge skull, and it's my memento mori, and like the one Stoic like website, they have like this coin, like it says memento mori, and it's a skull, and again it's just like this constant reminder to live now in the moment, because you could die at any given moment. Yeah. And I kind of like that. But one of the things that I really liked that they had there were like mourning rings, and I wasn't really sure. I wasn't really familiar with. I had seen more recently advertised where you can get people's ashes put into gemstones or other things.
I've seen stuff like that before.
So this is basically the concept. And the one that I saw was like this band that the middle extended out and you can put like hair in it. And other ones were like gemstones. Sometimes they'll just be like black. Sometimes they'll have like a skeleton on them, and other times they'll be remains in the ring itself.
Gotcha.
Oh, cool.
So I thought it was really cool. The other kind of memento mori that they had on display were like these death masks, which
I have seen these. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of a memento mori, but it was kind of just in the same area. But they're usually made from wax or plaster, and they may be mementos of the dead or be used for creation of portraits. So like if someone was emaciated or whatever, or if they want to do a painting later, they'll have that mask and stuff like that. But the main purpose of the death mask from like the Middle Ages until the 19th century was to serve as a model for sculptors in creating statues and busts of the deceased person. So, and it wasn't until the 1800s did these masks become valued for themselves. In other cultures, death masks may be actually used as a funeral mask and placed over the face, just again in case it was just like a burial rite, or again if they were emaciated and stuff like that, which is really interesting.
I like to call them life masks.
They do have life masks. They call if you get it when you're alive.
I'm a glass half full kind of guy. I call them life masks. Hashtag inspiration.
You are such a positive person.
I know. It's just in my nature.
Yeah. We can get a life mask made of you now if you would like us to do that.
Yeah, I would appreciate that.
We can just put it up on your wall.
For all your future statues that may be commissioned.
Yeah. I do like the idea of like them doing it and then you being like, it doesn't really look very much like me. And like trying to get them to like make you look like better than you actually did. Be like, come on, just take,
then you just
pick one of
show
those
them a
chins
picture
off.
of you 10 years ago when you like weighed like 20 pounds less.
Right.
You're like,
so
can you do that?
It's like 50.
Can you make that jaw a little stronger?
Did you make it look like I have a jawline?
That'd be pretty great. So that was that part. That was another big highlight for me because I do love me a good memento mori. Moving on, they actually had a lot of Jack Kevorkian art.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, I didn't know he did art. Is he still alive? He's dead, right?
He's dead.
He's dead.
He is dead.
Okay. I remember that was he was like every
Dr.
fucking
Death.
tabloid in the world did a Kevorkian.
That was
thing
huge
on
in the
while
90s
there.
for us.
It was a big moral conundrum and all
Yeah.
that. I remember. Yeah.
For people who aren't familiar, he basically had supported the idea of like assisted suicide. So giving people like it's their kind of right to choose when they go out in this world.
And
And
if you're gonna, and if you want to end your life, basically, you shouldn't have to do it. You know, you should have medical assistance in being able to do that if you want to.
You shouldn't have to do it in some graphic way, or if you're infirm to the point that you can't do it at all.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I'm personally for it. I'm cool with it.
Yeah, it's definitely it's one of those things where it's like I think. I don't want to jump to this conclusion, but if I can remember, because I was definitely, relatively young when this was like a hot topic that people were discussing. Wasn't really a whole lot going on. Like in the sixth grade, we weren't talking about it a lot. Or whenever the hell this was, but there was. I think a lot of people who had this very adamant opposition to it were religious.
Yeah, no, 110%. I think
we're
that's
like,
one of the reasons.
Suicide's a sin and all this stuff, and I was like,
there's another side to it of maybe he got a little too into it, and maybe he got a little too cavalier.
Sure,
could be,
and was
like, do you want to die?
Yeah, exactly.
I can help
he
you
was
die.
doing 2-for-1 specials. He was doing BOGOs.
Yeah. He opened the drive-through, and it was much. It was too much when he opened the drive-through.
Well, I mean, and logistically, it doesn't make sense because the parking lot just fills up.
Well, no, you got to drive your loved one in. You also,
I'm imagining people driving, getting killed, and then just the car just stays in the parking lot.
I know that line backs up real quick, but.
No, you got to bring someone to drive you. You're to be in the passenger seat.
You basically have a show, or not a chauffeur, a valet,
right?
But they never get any cars out. They only go in.
Well, no, here's the thing: his drive-through was right next to a towing company, so it was a synergistic thing.
That was the thing. You just had to sign your car over to them.
Right.
Yeah, and then they just took it over.
You sign your life over to him and your car over to them. Like
they were like. I'm imagining like a deal that you strike with like a used car dealership that's like, I'll buy all these dead people's cars. And then they're like trying to convince people to kill themselves so they can have their car to sell.
Yeah.
And this is a movie idea, guys. This is a script waiting to happen.
This is all good.
We're going to have to put such a hard disclaimer on this episode.
We're talking about this very flippantly.
It's all jokes.
There was actually, I'm trying to think, it was a few years ago. There was actually like this like love story movie that it was like including assisted suicide.
This sounds very, very familiar.
The chick who's on Game of Thrones is in it.
I never watched
She's
one
the
episode
dragon
of
queen.
Don't know.
Neither of
I've
you?
never
Nope.
watched one episode of Game
Not
of
in a
Thrones.
minute.
Whoa. Okay. Well, that's people who are listening will be like, oh, okay, got it. But yeah, just she's like
I want to eventually. I just haven't pulled the
That's
trigger
probably
on
a good
Game of
idea.
Thrones yet.
I haven't watched Game of Thrones or Avatar. It's something like when things get way too popular, way too fast. I'm just like, no.
No, I didn't do the same thing. Yeah,
just to be subversive, like
Contrarian, yeah.
contrarian
Yeah.
is the word I'm looking
I
for.
don't want to care.
I don't like Avatar. Yeah.
So other things that were interesting, they obviously had a lot of Charles Manson stuff because Manson is such an egomaniac that he just like wrote letters and I had seen another collection a few years ago, just reading his letters. It doesn't fucking make sense. It literally makes no sense.
Yeah, I read one. I think I listened on a podcast. I'm reading one of them one time, and it reads like Naked Lunch. Where you could just pick it up at any point, open it to a page, and start reading, and it's fine.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Well, it almost seems like he's trying to write a song, but he's just trying to talk to you at the same time. And I feel like that's probably just how he communicated, and it's just thinking
song,
he
yes.
was so fucking cool in doing it. It's like, I'm an artist.
Yeah, it's really weird. I'm sure you've heard the stories of him with his relationship with, I think it was Brian Wilson or one of the Beach Boys.
One of the Beach Boys.
Yeah, and he basically got because he was always trying to kind of ride their coattails to get a record deal and all this stuff. It's wild.
Yeah, I think that's
how many
just,
people who have the same mentality of Charles Manson ended up getting a record deal and became famous, musicians.
And then they didn't kill someone because they got a record deal.
And they could have went the complete opposite direction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Man.
Didn't try to start a race war.
Yeah. And it's like, it turns out, if one conversation didn't happen and then the butterfly effect played out, our most famous
Taylor Swift would be
Beck is our most serious,
Yeah.
Well, he's a Scientologist, so I think that's where his connections came.
Maybe if he didn't come into Scientology, maybe Beck would be a
I don't know
serial
why
killer.
I picked on Beck. I like Beck.
Yeah,
He's
it's fine.
fine.
His music's okay.
Yeah, it's all right.
No, I was like a sidebar conversation about my trip to LA which was during all of these things between these visits. It was the first time I really saw so much Scientology stuff right there in person after listening to podcasts about it, reading things about it. But it's legit, you walk by a sign and there's just cameras everywhere, and it was kind of surreal. And they even have their own broadcasting building as well, and it blows my mind. Yeah, it blows my mind even seeing it in person.
That it exists.
Yeah,
in the capacity that it does.
Right, and just how powerful they are.
Yeah.
Which, fuck Scientology. So
Which we won't say bad things about because they might come and sue us.
I never heard of it. Very interesting.
I'm very open to reading some of their literature.
Let me in. Okay, so but the interesting thing that in that section was they actually had pictures of Sharon Tate on the car, on the scene, with her being murdered and stuff that.
That's graphic.
They had a lot of graphic stuff. Besides that, other really graphic things. They had pictures of beheadings, which were pretty crazy, and they even had some of the tools for these beheadings and other indigenous tools for cannibals and stuff like that. So that was really interesting.
That's interesting.
Yeah. A lot of shit like that. The other thing is that they made a point to have a section about how graphic the news used to be around accidents and things that happen in the public. They had all these images of people who were in car accidents, and bodies being literally on the side of the floor or ground because they just got threw out of a car. And they were just this is kind of a thing that doesn't happen anymore, but this used to this is what the news used to be, you know, and it was fucking wild.
I remember in journalism school doing a thing, and they were talking about the moral conundrum around printing pictures of crime scenes or naming the victims' names and all that sort of thing. And I think really only back as far as maybe the early 80s it was pretty common practice, right? Early 70s, early 80s?
I'm not totally sure. I can't remember if I don't think I saw a specific date, but it probably was one on the paper. I probably could have looked a little closer.
Gonna grab some nog, you guys.
Yeah. I already had a little bit of that nog. It
How
wasn't
was it?
too bad. I mean, it's fine. I wish it was like thicker, like we already talked about this before
Smells like
recording.
eggnog.
Yeah, like it's fine, and I think the other thing with that is that it's not like
Ooh.
boozy like an Irish coffee or something, like our Irish cream.
It is weird because when I make eggnog, I put bourbon or rum in it, and I put a fuckload of booze in it.
Yeah.
So I'm used to tasting eggnog with a booze flavor.
Right.
Yeah.
And you really don't taste the booze in this.
Right. Yeah.
Ooh,
that's
this is kind of good.
Yep. That's nice.
Back to cannibalism.
Back to cannibalism. So just highlighting a couple other things. They had replicas of execution devices, like that's kind of was related to the beheadings. Obviously, like body bags, skulls, coffins, a lot of typical stuff you see around.
Oh, speaking of murder devices, Rebel eggnog, hard latte. No, I just heard this recently, and it was like one of those things where it was like something I thought my entire life. You saw the image of the torture device that was referred to as the Iron Maiden. It's like basically it almost looks like a sarcophagi, upright, and there's spikes on the inside, and they close it. I just learned recently. Apparently, that wasn't a thing.
Really?
Yeah. That was just like someone in a movie somewhere found this like big upright chamber and thought, wouldn't it be cool if we put spikes on it?
Oh.
What?
And that wasn't even a real thing. And it wasn't even called the Iron Maiden. There was a totally different tool that they called the Iron Maiden. It was some sort of like head thing. I don't know.
Okay.
But you always thought that thing was the Iron Maiden. I feel like
Right.
every fucking kid who was into like horror movies and metal music and stuff would be like, oh yeah, the Iron Maiden is actually this torture device.
Right,
It's like a little bit of like,
Yeah.
it's like the IPA story.
Yeah.
So it would last across the ship. We went from the
Let me
India.
push up my glasses right now.
Yeah, but that like apparently that's not even a thing.
Interesting. That's cool. I feel like for whatever reason, whether I saw like a replica or something, I feel like that came up recently. So I'm glad you mentioned that because I'm trying to think back. Did we talk about it at all? Maybe not. Whatever. Moving on. I don't want to like waste time trying to remember something that I'm not going to remember. But yeah, so related to like the serial killer memorabilia stuff, a lot of like John Wayne Gacy stuff. I'm trying to think of who else. They even there's a lot of Dahmer stuff in there. They even had
What
stuff.
does he do? I mean, I know like John Wayne Gacy painted and stuff.
Oh, you're talking about like what did he do?
What
like
did Jeffrey Dahmer like? What was his art medium?
he just had a lot of like writing. He
Oh,
just
it
did
was, like,
like
letters
writing.
and
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
I see.
letters. And I think, and part of when they got to that section was just like about him too. So they started like they did a little bit on Timothy McVeigh, which there weren't like letters from him or anything like
was, like,
that.
his
It
little
was just like,
manifesto
hey, this
thing.
is just like what happened here. They even covered a little bit of war in some capacity. So like the range at the Museum of Death, I think, is pretty vast. And whatnot. They even mildly covered 9/11. Like had some like news headline newspapers and stuff like that. I'm trying to think. There's a lot more just like random stuff that they had, but those are just like my highlights from that, and it's really cool. I don't know. I like going to see this stuff. I think the only other highlight story I'll tell is like a few years ago I bought these I started following this Instagram page called Serial Killer Memorabilia, and they were selling these toilet seat covers that they painted serial killers on. Okay. And I was like, I have to have them. Yeah. So I bought them. And
then the paint wasn't dry and you stood up and you just had all the paint on your ass. You said John Wayne Gacy on your ass.
And on there was a John Wayne Gacy one. When you lift it up, it says "kiss my ass." It was like famous last word type thing. But anyway,
I have heard that. Yeah.
So like the people who were selling it though, they're really friendly. They were like, "Oh, if you're ever in like New York City, come. We can show you the rest of our collection and shit like that." And I happened to have been going to a wedding like within a month of when I bought these, and I was like, "Just hold them. I will drive out to Long Island and I'll pick them up and blah blah." So I went out there. Probably these people were so fucking nice. Like freshly baked focaccia bread. Do you guys want some food? No, I'm good. I'm just like
when I go, and that's actually really surprising to hear you say, because when I buy my murder toilet seats, the people are total pieces of shit.
Right.
Like just the dirtball people who I rely upon. I need a new serial killer toilet seat guy.
Yes.
Because my guy's an asshole.
Somehow instinctually though,
bread.
my brain got super anxious walking in and being like, they're too friendly. I'm about to look at all the serial killer stuff and I'm freaking out and they're probably going to kill me. I was just thinking that for at least the first 2 hours.
They know I think I'm going to get killed.
Well, that's the thing is they're like, we sell murder serial killer toilet seats. We need to soften the blow. Like we need to have focaccia and like herbal
They
teas.
did end up cooking us like a whole dinner too, like spetzel, like sous vide fucking beef. Like it was a fucking spread.
Beef?
Fuck you. I already ate it. It's already out of my body. I'm gonna say pretend like absolutely.
I'm just saying if there was like a serial killer cannibal couple, I feel like they would use sous vide as a cooking technique.
Yeah, because they want it to be super tender.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I can see this. I'm following you. I'm not going to give in to make me feel bad about this.
I'm just saying you may or may not consume human flesh. That's all I'm saying.
Again, it's already out of my body. I'm cool. This is a great night.
Have some nog.
So this couple showed us, so they basically got this collection from a friend of theirs who worked as like a correctional officer, and this guy just knew, like he knew the ins and outs. He knew how, he knew what they wanted. He knew how to talk to them. So him and his wife would like write letters to different serial killers. So they have a lot of like David Berkowitz. They have a lot of John Wayne Gacy. They have some Charles Manson and a bunch of other people. Not too long, right before the pandemic, I had them in Pittsburgh for an art show where they brought a lot of the collection down and put it on display and stuff like that. But one of the highlights of leaving that was we were reading through some of John Wayne Gacy's letters, and this guy was like, he was just teasing him the whole time. Like, like, oh yes, I'm a bodybuilder, blah, blah, blah. So John Wayne Gacy was like, show me the goods. And I'll take a picture of it too. And we'll put it on the Instagrams or whatever. But the tattoo I have on my wrist is a picture that John Wayne Gacy drew in one of his letters. And it's called The Head Over Head. And basically it was just like, he was explaining to the correctional officer, which he didn't know was a correctional officer, how he liked the taste of his own cum. And he would put his back up against the wall and basically have his dick over his mouth and like masturbate into his own mouth.
Giving himself the old Joe Rogan.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, so I saw the picture in the corner and I was like, do you guys care if I take a picture of this? And they're like, yeah, just don't show anyone right now, because it was like they just got the collection.
Yeah.
And I immediately sent it to my tattoo artist and I was like, can you put this on my body? He was like, yeah, absolutely.
I guess so.
So,
well, why not?
Yeah.
Oh, one Joe Rogan?
Yeah.
Standard rate apply for one Joe Rogan.
Gacy self-suck? Gotcha.
Yeah. So
oh man,
these are all fun stories. But last thing I'll end it on before we go to Q&A, again, you'll see on the videos, I got this like cool John Wayne Gacy patch, but I also got this pin set that is,
it's intense,
the Black Dahlia, and it's a twofer.
It's a enamel pin of the crime scene of
her body cut in two, and I thought, I was like, I have to have that.
It's intense.
I was like, only souvenirs I took back from NOLA were those.
Yeah. And a hangover.
And a bad hangover.
But that's anybody who goes to NOLA.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds fun. I would love to go to that. Like I said, I've seen images and people post about the Museum of Death in Hollywood, and it looks pretty rad. I would definitely like to check it out. Which is the one? Do you guys remember the episode of one of Anthony Bourdain's shows where he went to? Did he go to the Museum of Death? He definitely went to one. No, never mind. I think it was something overseas, but it was kind of a similar situation. But it was like, I think it was more like a Museum of Medical Oddities kind of thing.
Cool.
But I think it's in the same vein. But in any case, well, lovely. Let us get into some Q&A here. So we'll just grab a handful of them and kind of see how long it takes us to go through them. But just these were submitted by a bunch of our lovely social media friends and listeners. I'll pull the first one here, which is from Spooky Will on Instagram. Said, "What's the spookiest thing that's ever happened to you?" So jumping right out of the gate with not necessarily a horror movie related one or even movie related one, but just a personal experience that's
one time spooky. I was on this podcast and I saw a dog in a blanket.
saw a ghost. Saw a ghost dog.
Saw a ghost dog.
I love his snout's just barely peeking out. I mean, a couple come to mind for me. I know spooky. So one of them is just like generally disturbing couple of experiences in my time living in beautiful Youngstown, Ohio, come to mind. One was my next door
Say no more.
My next door neighbor was murdered and then burned.
Oh, Jesus.
Whoa! What the fuck?
Yeah, right in the middle of the day, I heard the gunshots. It was like on a weekday.
Shit, dude.
I was doing an internship down at the beautiful downtown Youngstown, the Youngstown Vindicator newspaper. So I was doing an internship at this newspaper, and it's right. I mean, it was just a few blocks from my house, so I would come back home for lunch.
Mm-hmm.
So I came back, and I'm sitting in my room eating lunch, and my girlfriend at the time was there, and I hear in the middle of the afternoon, pop, pop, pop. And living in Youngstown, on the north side of Youngstown where we lived, like, you know what gunshots sound like.
Yeah.
There was definitely quite a bit of crime in the area. And so I was like, that sounded like gunshots. And then the only other person that was in the house was one of my roommates, and he came down from the third floor. He's like, "You hear that?" I was like, "Yeah, it sounded like gunshots." He was like, "Yes, it did." And then all of a sudden, we go back up to our rooms. 5 minutes later, I go to walk downstairs, and there's like a bay window on the side, and I see all this smoke coming out.
Jesus.
And I thought the front of our house was on fire. So I run towards the front of the house, and the two rooms that are on the front of the house are locked. One of them was my brother's room, and I knew he was at class. So I was like, I think what I'm imagining is he left something on or something, and the house is on fire in his room. So we make sure nobody else is here. We run outside, and we quickly see that it's actually the apartment building right beside us. It's like a city block. I mean, the buildings are close. Smoke billowing out of all the windows, and all the residents are out on the sidewalk. And yeah, we just smoke out. The fire department comes, like 8 fire trucks. They put out the fire, and everything. And like they were inside, like with the fire hose, and they were blowing it in against our house.
Right.
And all of our air conditioners were on that side.
Oh,
so like
Jesus
it was
Christ.
just, our carpet was all soaking wet. It was a disaster.
Shit.
But anyway, we come to learn that this older gentleman who we knew, I mean, he was a very he was a very creepy old dude.
Yeah.
He would say very creepy stuff. But he was just like, he was apparently, it was like a lover's quarrel / drug deal situation gone bad. Someone murdered him and set his body on fire. So we went into, like, this was months later. So the house, the building was condemned, this apartment building. And we, one night, again, college kids, drunken shenanigans.
Yeah.
We decide we're going to go into this apartment building.
Yeah.
And we go up to his apartment, and you could very clearly see exactly where the fire was started,
Holy
right in the middle of
shit.
the kitchen. And then we walk to the front, and we would always see this thing at night. His front room was like, there was like a front room there were 6 apartments, 3. And they went the whole way back the building. One, they were side by side, and there were 3 on each side. And they all had these like almost bay windows in the front. And there was what looked like to us, like what we used to describe as like a Muppet version of the Predator in the window up there. And we're like, what is that? It's like a 3D thing. It's like a mannequin almost.
Yeah.
We went up there, we found it. It was a paper mache person that he had made and had a mop for hair.
Ugh.
There was so much fucking weird stuff. It literally sounds like I'm just saying some sort of, cliche 90s.
Sounds like you're
horror
describing
trope.
Maniac.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
were mannequins. There were
Shit.
it was the creepiest fucking, he had an enormous like pink dresser that was just, I mean, he clearly painted it pink. It was brimmed with all of the weirdest porn you can imagine.
Oh,
wow, okay.
Everything, like, because everything was just there. No one came and got anything.
Right.
Like, eventually, one of my roommates took a bass amp out that was in there because it was just like sitting in there. He's like, no one can I mean, it's just rats everywhere. Like, I'm going to take this bass amp.
Oh my gosh.
But it was just such a weird, surreal, because like the walls were all like smoke damaged and black and water damage everywhere. But there were still all of his like belongings, like stacks and stacks of newspapers, magazines. And then
do you know what his relation to
he,
this person was? Like, was it just like a random person that he like? Oh, like, I guess I'm just more curious about.
So they eventually did catch the guy, I was told, and I think they had a romantic relationship, but it was a disagreement over
drugs or money
or money or both,
Sure,
kind of thing.
Sure.
So,
Wow.
so that was on one side of the house, and then on the other side, literally neighbor on the next door, like less than 2 months later, she was a sex worker. And she OD'd, and we watched her take her corpse out of the house as well.
Holy
Literally within like
shit.
2 months, two deaths right on these.
Brian, these
side of
aren't
our house.
spooky. These are just tragic.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm a little. I would be so scared to go into that house. Like, so, like these.
It was
are,
pretty
these
creepy.
Are
It was
good.
pretty creepy. The other one that came to mind, and this is a lot more lighthearted. Sorry, I didn't plan on telling the entire story and going into there and stuff. But anyway, the other one was. We were in Key West, again, also in college, and we went on one of, this made me think of it, Meg, we went on one of those ghost tours. And Key West, you know, it's supposed to be like this really haunted place, whatever. Everybody says the place they're in is haunted when they have a ghost tour. But they went in and we went to all these different locations around Key West. And one of them, long story short, was a church. And the whole idea was like this. It was a church that had been turned into a theater, and it was abandoned. You could clearly see and Key West has some of the most valuable real estate of any place like in North America because it's so tiny and it's just so finite. But there's this one giant building that's just left completely abandoned, and everyone's like, "Yeah, this is like a multi-million-dollar property," and no one has done anything with it because there was like. You know, he of course gave us the lore of like this story of this like the pastor and his wife, and he thought his wife was cheating on him with like one of the deacons or whatever, and he ended up burning down the church with her in it, but she wasn't there with the deacon. She was actually there with like a Sunday school group, and all these kids died in this fire.
Shit.
And so like all these people, when they come in to renovate the place, always like all this crazy haunting shit happens with all these ghost kids, basically. So we're like, oh, fun. Okay, ghost kids. And we go do our thing. We go to another place. And then on the way back, we're walking like a couple miles back to our house that we rented, and we passed that church again. And we're like, and they always said that they always heard music, and they always heard, she played the harp. So you always hear like harp music. And we're like, okay. So we're like daring each other. There's like a group of 4 or 5 of us. Let's go up to and look in, through the windows. So we walk up the stairs of the church and we look in through the windows. And I mean, this was years ago now, so it's hard to say. But at that moment, we all very adamantly agreed that there was music coming from inside.
Holy shit.
And, who knows? It could be anything. It could come from a bar 10 blocks away. The acoustics were just bouncing off of buildings. I'm sure there's a reason.
I'm going to think that it was the building.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a reasonable explanation. But in the moment, you're like, oh, fuck. That sounds like it's coming from right inside.
Yeah.
So I remember that being pretty creepy.
That's fucking nuts.
Yeah. And then we've talked about in the past, my Aunt Jill used to do all kind of shit and freak us out.
Right.
Like take us to graveyards and light candles and scare the shit out of us and stuff. But that was more fun than actually spooky.
That was plain spooky.
Yeah. I feel like with my stories for it, they're not totally directly related to me because I was trying to think back and there's nothing I'm sure there were scary things that I probably could share and I'll remember at some point. But what I'll share that is pretty spooky that I love about with where I work is that both 2 of our restaurants. I work for North Country Brewing Company. We have the pub right in Slippery Rock, and then we have the Harmony Inn, which is right around Zelienople.
Both famously haunted.
Haunted. Yeah. So a couple of stories for the pub. So Bob lived there while he was renovating
and Bob's the owner.
Bob McCaffrey is the owner. And he was recalling a story of he was painting in the upstairs area, and so he's using a sprayer, and he hurt. So he swears by everything was locked because he was there alone at that time. Everything was locked, all the windows were closed, everything, so that if someone tried to come in, he would just fucking hear it. But when he was painting in that upstairs area, he heard a fucking noise, so he stopped painting. But when he came back, I'm trying to think of really pretty much right when you go up the stairs, there's this projector, and almost dead set in the middle of it was this word Roy was written in it. He was there absolutely alone. That's it.
Yeah.
And which is pretty fucking spooky. He also had, when he was doing work in the basement, so in the building itself historically used to be a funeral home. So let's give a little bit of that background. This gives a lot of context with, like, there's some spooky shit that was probably going on. So he was working in the basement, which is where they did all the embalming. And he had the laundry stuff was down there, and he had one of his tools, I think it was like a screwdriver, on top of one of the washer dryer. And he said he turned around, like he was doing something on one side, and then he turned around, and this tool that he knew was up there was literally right in his path. Like, there's no way, like, he would not. I thought
you were going to say he looked up and it was just through his hand.
No. Yeah, it's just like one of those things. He said, like, it was in a spot where, like, would be a walkway, so there's like no way he would ever put it right there, and he's just it like fucking somehow moved. For the Harmony Inn, I don't know as much about the background of what that used to be, but I think it used to be an inn, so I'm sure there was probably some shady shit that went down there.
And they do like, people travel from all over to come do like investigations, paranormal investigations at the Harmony Inn.
Yeah. I mean, even at the pub too, like there's even a couple signs. If you go upstairs, you can see some of these like paranormal certified type signs. And I kind of think that's cool.
Certified, inspected by tax.
Certified spooky.
So the Harmony Inn, the way it was designed, obviously it's a restaurant now, but like there was a spot that they put up a wall that used to obviously have a door there. Mm-hmm. And they caught on camera, and I'm pretty sure you can see it on our Facebook that they posted this video. But in one of the security videos, you can watch this like almost like orb figure go like almost do this like turn and go through this wall that used to be a door and stuff like that. And that was pretty spooky and stuff like that. I had
friends, multiple friends, who worked at the Harmony Inn.
Yeah.
In high school, because it's very near where I grew up. And they used to always all have stories about silverware being taken away. Like they would go upstairs and be putting silverware on the table, especially like upstairs.
Sure.
And then they would come back and it would all be like all gathered back up or something like that. You know what I mean? So they'd always have those types of stories.
Yeah. And there's if you go into some of the side rooms, like I'm trying to, there's one other story that I remember Lauren telling me about. There's like this room that basically looks like it used to be like closed up. Like it has like the way the brick doorway is set up. It's like almost seems like there's like this secret room. Mm-hmm. And I've heard of like people like feeling shit in there and whatnot. But also our friend Bill Smith, who owns Big Rail Brewing Company, he used to brew in the basement, and like he's like mentioned like weird shit happening upstairs because he would always brew overnight because he worked his day job and would come brew there at night. Yeah, he said he's like heard things like, and yeah, it's been really weird.
We had supposedly a haunted house in college, this big old kind of rundown mansion type of thing, which is like what half of Youngstown is. Mm-hmm. And we lived in this house, and people would come and do investigations and write stories on it for the paper and stuff because there was like supposedly this guy who murdered these two girls and like kept them in the basement and all this stuff. So we used to always try to scare people, going in the basement and try to scare people. But we would get all stoned and go like, let's go like hang out in the basement in the dark and try to see ghosts and stuff. Yeah. But people would say they did, but they were lying. We never saw anything cool.
The only other thing I like adding on that is like, I feel like
I wanted to like, we genuinely wanted, it wasn't, we were like, oh, we're too, like we were like, wouldn't it be fucking cool if we saw ghosts or something?
I don't think I've ever really had any sort of like ghostly experience myself.
I haven't either.
But like I have definitely lived in apartments before where it's just like, you're just in one room, or like it was just like you just feel something.
I know that feeling.
You know what I mean? Like
my Aunt Jill's house again, of course, it's my spooky aunt, but she lived in a house in Newcastle, Pennsylvania, that we all said that it was the scariest fucking house. Everywhere you stood, you feel like you couldn't see into any other rooms. Yeah. It was just like all these sharp corners and stuff.
Yeah.
And then when she first moved in, me, my brother, my two cousins, she had us come and help her like clean it out kind of thing. Because it was like a foreclosure or something, I think. So we had to do all this work to like clean it out. And it was an old house that had a coal chute in the basement.
Okay.
And then there was another hole in the floor of the basement that just was a hole.
Yeah.
And we used to always call it the portal to hell because you didn't know where it went, how deep it was, nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that house, boy, same thing. You would be in it and you just always felt uneasy in this house.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I lived in a similar place, but it was in Glen Willard.
Okay.
And so if you don't know where that is, it's like right along the river's edge, and you can actually see the town in Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, okay.
There's a scene where Jodie Foster goes to investigate the first victim, which I believe is Frederica Bimmel.
Yeah.
And like her house is in Glen Willard.
Oh, okay.
So I lived in a house that was very similar that had been pieced out to be 2 apartments.
I see.
But there was also a basement. There was like a storm cellar basement.
Mm-hmm.
And it was probably the scariest fucking basement I've ever seen in my life because you had to go in through 2 storm doors and the ceilings were like 4.5, 5 feet tall.
Yeah.
And the entire foundation, because the town is old and everything, the entire foundation was just all cobbled stone brick.
Yeah.
Like it's all brick or just stones stacked on top of each other.
Yeah,
and then
sandstone probably.
Yeah. And the fucking floor is all dirt and just like, I'm like, oh, well, you know, the Fios connection was down in there. And I'm like, I'll let the guy in, but I'm not going in there.
Yeah, well, that's what the basement of my house used to be because it's this old
Wow.
sandstone foundation and it used to be dirt floor.
Yeah.
And because this house was, built in like 1880 or something like
Yeah.
that, so it was the same type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just the most terrifying basement I've ever seen. It was one of those where like you couldn't even look to the other side of the basement. It just got dark in the middle of it. And you're like, well, whatever. That's it.
I don't go over there.
Yeah.
That's off limits.
Yeah. I don't know what's in there. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's not for me.
I'm not meant to be here.
Yeah. I fucking rent. So somebody else can take care of all the problems that happen down here.
Yeah, I'm coming down.
Oh my
Whether
God.
it's ghosts or snakes or fucking boilers or whatever. I don't care.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I just want to imagine you calling your landlord about a ghost.
Hey, this place got ghosts. I didn't have a ghost, but I had a bird once.
Hey, I think I got a cellar dweller down
Yeah.
there.
Hey, is there cellar dwellers? What's the goblin situation in this place? I've been in that basement. I ain't too happy about it. Is there a goblin? History of goblins?
So funny.
All right, let's get on to the next one because we take this long in every question. We were going to be here for 4 hours, but that was
we can do one more.
That was a fun question. Let's do a couple because we have a couple more good ones that are actually horror movie or movie related. First, we have from our friends at the Haunted Hangover podcast. Definitely check them out. We went over on their show and they're just really, Louie and Dave are awesome. I think this is from Louie because he runs their Instagram, but this was from Instagram. One horror movie that you love that most people hate. I thought this was a good one. It's hard to say because like most people, like every movie has its fans. You know what I mean?
Right.
The only one I could think of that I knew got a lot of shit, but I was just like, this is fine.
Yeah.
Bird Box. I didn't hate it.
I haven't seen Bird Box.
I didn't hate it.
I didn't hate it. It's just, I don't know. It's unimpressive to me. But
yeah, I guess I thought like the concept was interesting. You know, and I feel like in times it was tense and I don't know. I felt like it was a little bit unique. I don't know.
Yeah.
So,
I gotta watch it. It definitely feels like it's a polarizing one.
Yeah.
From just like comments online and stuff.
Yeah. There's nothing terribly wrong with it, but there's also nothing terribly memorable either.
This is the one with
Sandra Bullock.
Miss Congeniality, I was going to say. Yes, and she's got the blindfold. Yeah, okay.
Oh, what's his name? Damn it.
I know Machine Gun Kelly's
what's
in
his
it.
name?
Yeah, Machine
Fuck
Gun
that
Kelly.
dude.
Who cares?
Machine Gun Kelly's in it?
Fuck
Yeah.
that dude.
Now I'm off.
Right.
Like, I was going to watch it,
Well,
but
Well,
I don't
just
hate
go
Machine
to
Gun
watch
Kelly,
him
whatever.
die.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
John Malkovich.
Oh,
in it.
now I'm
Okay,
back on. I fucking love John
Yeah. Malkovich is great in it.
John Malkovich will cancel out 10 Machine Gun
Exactly.
guys.
Yeah.
So-
That's who I was trying to get to.
Yeah. he's
Yeah.
fucking
Megan's
great.
remember Machine Gun Kelly.
You know, fuck off.
I love John Malkovich. I actually don't have a problem with Machine Gun Kelly, but
I do.
he just like he
He
dresses.
went after Eminem. We fuck that dude.
You gotta remember.
Meg picks sides in rap beefs.
Well, you gotta remember. Meg loves Detroit, so
She does. Mom spaghetti, all that. So I will say the one that people do seem to genuinely hate that I really do like, and I did hate once upon a time, and I think we might have talked about this before, is Halloween H2O. When I first watched it, walked out of the theater on cloud nine. Loved it. It was one of like the earliest horror movies I saw in the theater. You know, when I was like 13. It was like one of the first ones I saw by myself. So not by myself, but like just with kids, just like friends.
Right.
And I went and saw it, and I fucking loved it. And then over the years, like it didn't age particularly gracefully for me. And then and Josh Hartnett really just can annoy the shit out of me. But then I came back around on it, and now it's honestly one of my favorite in the franchise now. I fucking love that movie.
Nice.
So that's my. I could probably name 10 more because I've paid terrible, uninvited. I mean, we could talk about all these ones.
Yeah, that's the thing when you have like terrible taste and you're willing to watch anything.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
I play Tubi Roulette, so you know, I just watched like Evil Bong 4 the other night.
Yeah, I saw you post about that. I was like, fuck
I will
yeah,
watch anything.
Yeah.
I love going in blind to movies, and like when you've been watching horror movies this long, like not like, oh, I know fucking everything about horror. It's not the case at all. But when you have seen a lot of, like, I've seen most of the good ones.
Right, yeah.
So like, and like, so there's other ones that I'm like, oh, maybe I haven't seen this. Like Bird Box, for example, right? That's a movie that I kind of have just absorbed through the zeitgeist enough about it that I kind of know what's going to happen. Right. I want the ones that I go in, like, that's why when stuff pops up on Shudder, and that's why I love Shudder. We're not sponsored by Shudder, but hey, if you want to. But when I go in Shudder, stuff pops up that I've never ever seen before. I'll watch it immediately. Yeah. Okay. Because I'm like, I don't want to hear anything about it. I don't want to know anything about it.
You want to go in cold and be surprised.
Freaking Terrifier, example of that. Right, yeah. Like we you know, aside from the ending, I went in 100% blind. So low to no expectations, and then I'm like, oh, that was kind of cool. Right. So that's the type of stuff that's most of the time why I watch such a piece of shit.
You get surprised by stuff.
Yeah
I'm same way. So it's hard for me to pick a good answer to this question. I feel like if you say most people in the world, like, you know, most people in the world, I think would hate Martyrs from 2008.
Yeah, just because of the brutality.
Yeah, just the brutality, and then like it has a pretty unsatisfying ending if you don't want to think.
Yeah,
you know,
but it is objectively a fucking really good movie.
Yeah, it's a really good movie.
But yes,
don't watch the 2015 remake though. It's fucking terrible.
Is it? I haven't watched
it.
Nice.
I think my other answer for this would be, and I found a new appreciation for this film because I guess I'd seen it like when I was younger, and it didn't like really register with me as you know. But like Friday the 13th Part 5.
Okay, let me think about what Part 5 is. Which one?
Part 5 is the one where it's not Jason. It's the fake
ambulance
copycat.
Driver.
Yeah, it's
the ambulance driver.
Yeah, it's the ambulance driver. Yeah. It's the copycat. Rewatching that movie though, it's like really, I don't know. There seems to be like a lot of good lore to it.
Okay.
And you had it kind of falls apart in the end, but it's kind of like a Giallo film in a way.
It's a whodunit of sorts.
Yes, because so,
and of course, famously, Jason has black gloves.
Right. Well, yeah. But I mean, what you get is
and a fedora.
You get people getting killed. But you don't see who's doing the killing.
Right.
But you do see like full frame Jason in places because an older Tommy Jarvis is hallucinating him. So like you kind of assume Jason has come back in some way.
Yeah.
And then it's I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think it's worth it. It's a fun way to play with the lore. I don't know if people hate it or not though.
Okay.
I feel like people do.
I think people kind of hate it. I think that one and 9's the one with the Jason
the
spirit
worm.
Gets into people basically, right?
Yeah, the Jason worm.
Yeah, those two I think people do generally hate because
they're not Jason.
Franchise because they're not Jason.
Yeah,
but I will say probably that one is probably the one I've seen the least. Is 5. I mean I think I've only saw that and 9. Like once, maybe 1.5 times each.
The motivation for the killer falls apart, but it's fun because if you don't know who the killer is, there is a lot of like different tensions about who the killer could be because you're thinking it's Tommy Jarvis a lot, obviously, but like you put a lot of like questions on who it could be throughout the whole film. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's more fun than go back and watch it. Yeah, it's not Jason, but check it out.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, let's do one more. This is from our lovely friend Vibes_Cleveland, who I just sent some stickers to.
Yeah,
he's
him
a cool
I
guy.
chat. He actually, I might be doing a commercial for that like new show that's a spinoff of like even Horror Soup and stuff like that. That Night Shift.
Yeah.
Like it almost which it's really fucking cool because it basically plays like a news, like a nightly news.
Oh, cool.
And it's really fucking fun. And he asked me to do a commercial, and I was like, "Yeah, dude, just let me know." And he's like, "I'll send you a script soon." And I'm like, "Yeah, so it's gonna be fun." Yeah,
yeah.
He's awesome.
Yeah, he obviously I assume lives in Cleveland, so
Right.
Indiana.
Oh, that's right. I sent stickers to him. He lives in Indiana. Yeah.
He just has Cleveland vibes.
Yeah,
I think
he
his
just has Cleveland
last
vibe.
name is Cleveland.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Sorry. We've not met in person, but we've interacted online.
Yeah.
But yes, he did say, because like I said, I sent him stickers, so I obviously know his address is, but I know what your address is. That came out creepier than I expected it to.
You see, I do know where you live.
I was just pretending I don't know exactly where you live. But anyway, So there, his question is favorite guilty pleasure film, which could go in a lot of directions.
Yeah, and I feel like we briefly talked about this
And
beforehand.
we've established that I have no guilt.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, that's I'm with you. Like I don't get shame off much.
Yeah.
But we kind of established that maybe it's something we watch very regularly.
Yeah.
You kind of put it in terms that might not be like mainstream.
Mhm.
But I don't really rewatch a whole fucking lot.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm gonna say like mine's Good Will Hunting.
Yeah. Okay.
I fucking literally watch that yearly so that I can have a good cry.
Yeah, it's a great film. And when we were talking about this, I think the thing that Good Will Hunting suffers from is a little bit the same thing a movie like Fight Club suffers from, where it just has like an association with like kind of bro-ish machismo,
Right.
Definitely does.
frat douche type of mentality. But it's, both that and Fight Club are, obviously great movies.
Yeah.
But they do definitely have like their hardcore fans tend to only like it because of surface level stuff.
Right.
Like
A lot of hardcore Fight Club fans like it for the wrong reason.
Yes, they
Yeah.
like it because wouldn't it be cool if we beat
Yeah.
each other's asses?
Yeah.
yeah.
Would it be cool if we did take down the government and
Yeah.
whoop each other's asses in bar basements?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then hug it out. And,
Elliott Smith is just also one of my favorite musicians ever, so I usually also watch it because of my else.
I discovered Elliott Smith in college via the Royal Tenenbaums soundtrack.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
Because I was that kind of college kid. Really into
You were so hip.
really into Wes Anderson movies, which I still do. I'm not
it's
a
great.
guilty pleasure, but I will say so this, and I'll tell you why I feel like this is a guilty pleasure, because the movie, and it's an old movie, but it is aged incredibly not gracefully, and I'm actually really surprised that it still gets as much play as it does, because it is pretty cringy at points, and because we are into the holiday season here, I love the movie White Christmas. With Bing Crosby and Danny Kaye.
Okay.
So
That's funny.
yeah, it is it's a musical, it's just like a happy-go-lucky Christmas kind of movie, but there are some scenes that have not aged gracefully. There is literally one person of color in the entire movie, and he's like a bartender, or like a wait staff person. There is the one actress who is an incredibly talented dancer. You have to look at a picture, and her name's escaped me right now, but she has, her waist is so insanely small, and I'm not like trying to like body shame or anything like that, but like the way they accentuate it with the outfits too is just like very much looks, she just looks so emaciated and so thin. It's like it makes you uncomfortable. Like it looks like she has like she's sick, you know what I mean? And it's too much, but she's an incredible athlete, she's an incredible dancer. But it's, and then probably the most well-known thing is they do an entire musical number where they talk about they wish they were back in the days of the minstrel show. And it's
I'm not familiar with
so
this.
it's like kind of Jim Crow era, like people used to do shows in like blackface and stuff like that. Like it was a whole like I guess, vaudeville spin-off type
Sure.
of thing. It was a huge part of the culture for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And then this movie is from like, I guess like the 40s,
Okay.
late 40s, because it's like post World War II, I guess. But then they do like a number about how they like have nostalgia for minstrel shows.
Sure.
And it's like,
Wow.
it's very, again, it does not age well. You definitely have to understand like the movie's like, 80 years old or whatever. But it's such a charming movie otherwise. And it's got Bing Crosby in it. And Bing Crosby, I think in real life was a total fucking prick who beat the shit out of his kids and all this type of stuff. It was like an abusive asshole. But like, I just, I've been watching it since I was a kid. So like,
it's like a
so
thing.
that would be my guilty pleasure movie because it is like when you watch it, you have
watching
to like
the guilt.
take it out of you. Like
it's like
it's on
just
my
like
face,
radiating all over you.
Like I said, I have such an affection for the movie, and like the songs get stuck in my head, but there's a lot of cringing while watching portions of it for sure.
Yeah.
But then they still play it on like AMC and stuff. That's the weird thing about it.
They don't edit it now? Like, do they?
They might. I don't know.
Like, I can
I've
see them editing it a little bit more
Yeah,
now.
I'm not sure. I mean, obviously the main actress, she's one, but like the minstrel show one, I mean, because I watched it streaming last year, and I remember Kate and I going like, I can't believe they still like have this in here. I mean, it's obviously not mean spirited, but it's just like if you don't know what that is,
maybe it's presented with like a forward now of like of the time.
Maybe
I've definitely seen that before too.
I'm not
because
sure.
they do that with Looney Tunes and things like that. So like,
some of those old Looney Tunes cartoons, holy shit, yeah. But that's mine.
Yeah. My guilty pleasure movies are usually genres of like action films or heist films.
Okay.
I don't know what it is. As I've gotten older, my Tom Clancy side, like, how like old dads have like Tom Clancy books.
Yeah.
Well, heist films became that for me. But,
okay. I thought you were going to say like I started reading books about old ships.
No. But it's like, I just started getting obsessed with heist films. But my real guilty pleasure movie is Punisher Warzone.
Okay.
Dude, this movie fucking rules.
I'm imagining a lot of like slow motion jumping with guns.
Not even. No.
Max Payne style. No,
not even. And it's a great film though, but because it stands out from most of the other Marvel films that are out there.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's uber violent.
Okay.
Like viciously violent.
Who plays?
So the guy who plays the Punisher is Ray Stevenson.
Okay.
Or Steven Stone, maybe. I don't know. He's not like really a big name.
Okay. Okay.
I think he did like one like Showtime show.
Okay.
That he got some notoriety for after this, but yeah. It's also directed by Lexi Alexander. Mm-hmm. And she was known for Green Street Hooligans. Mm-hmm. And then, like, after making this movie, it was so testosterone driven and everything. Like, she hated it and she didn't want to be associated with it.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
But now she's back and she, like, directs all those CW DC shows.
Oh,
so, like, the Flash and
okay.
shit. So, yeah.
They seem to be, like, well received, though, those shows.
Yeah. They're not, I mean, they're just bubblegum.
Yeah.
They're not. But, this film is, like, crazy violent. And the guy who plays McNulty on The Wire...
I've still not seen The Wire.
I don't know.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I forget his name. I think it's Dominic West.
Okay.
Yeah. But so anybody who's watched The Wire knows who McNulty is, but he plays the bad guy in this film. And he's such a fucking ham.
Yeah.
It's perfect because the guy who plays the Punisher basically has maybe 5 lines, doesn't say shit, is like, he's a huge dude.
Yeah.
And just shoots and murders and kills. And then the guy who's playing the bad guy is like practically, Joker level fucking hamming it up. Yeah. Just psychopath shit. And then it all just culminates into the craziest like fucking ending. And it's almost like if you've seen the movie The Raid.
Yeah, I've seen it.
That's kind of the ending of the film. Okay. And the Punisher just takes an entire, building full of gangsters.
Just going up from level to level kind of thing. Yeah.
The best part though is
that just reminded me of another guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
Movie of mine.
Yeah. The Raid is awesome as well.
No, but
Dread. Yeah.
No, I was going to say the well, this is maybe not that unexpected. Timothy Oliphant as the hitman.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Still same.
Yeah. Similar. I love that movie too.
But this Punisher movie is famous for one particular scene in that there is a gang of parkour henchmen. Hold on. It'll get better.
How do I sign up?
There is a game of
parkour.
There's a gang of parkour henchmen, and they work for Jigsaw, who's the main bad guy.
His name's Jigsaw?
Yes, okay. Yes. Because he falls into a vat of glass crushers and has his skin ripped off and is sewn back on. It's great.
Oh, man. That's like Tim Burton-esque.
Yes. Dude, it's fantastic. You have to see it. But
it's a banger.
Yeah. The parkour henchmen are trying to report back to Jigsaw.
Yeah.
And one is making a leap between buildings.
Yeah.
And as he's doing a flip in air, he is exploded by a rocket that was shot by the Punisher from an RPG.
That's magical timing. You can't even do that in a video game.
Absolutely.
Oh, man. I'm on board. I'm 100% on board for this.
You absolutely should see it. But also, it's well directed. Wayne Knight, from Jurassic Park and Seinfeld is in it. And the cinematography is actually really great in that it feels like a comic book because it's very stylized with a lot of color.
Sure.
Against a lot of black.
I feel like I would like that approach more than I would like the later Punisher movie. What was the kind of bigger budget release Punisher film that was like they tried to make it really like gritty and
well, that's the thing. They did the gritty. They did the one with Thomas Jane in 2003.
Yeah,
that was actually before the one I'm talking about.
That's the one I've seen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that one was before this one, and then they did the series on Netflix with Josh Bernthal.
Yeah,
I like that.
It's not. It wasn't bad. I'm just saying this one is so stylish and wild.
Yeah.
Nice.
Now I feel like I need to watch it.
I'm on board.
You should. It's great.
Yeah. I mean, violence. I honestly kind of appreciate the Punisher story in general.
Yeah. Yeah, you just turn your brain off.
That's
brutal.
Brutal. Speaking of something that's been co-opted by douchebags.
Yeah.
The Punisher.
Yeah.
Every time I see guys, listen to me. Guys, this is a public service announcement. If you have a red, white, and blue Punisher logo on your truck or a Blue Lives Matter Punisher logo.
Oh my God.
You have never seen the Punisher.
Yeah.
Never seen the
Punisher.
Punisher.
Read the Punisher
Don't
or
know
know
the point.
anything about the Punisher as a character.
Yeah.
Listen, if that's your thing, whatever, but you look like a goddamn idiot.
Yeah. Like, don't
Legit.
you know that part of the character is the fact that you're not supposed to be like that character?
Yeah.
He's always at odds with other heroes because he's a murderer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I'm just going to say this. Cops murdered his family. Isn't that a part of the Punisher lore?
No, the Mafia.
It was the Mafia that murdered his family. That's right.
It depends on which story you get. Sometimes cops are involved. Sometimes they're not.
Yeah, you can tell I'm not a huge Punisher fan because I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
But I do know that, that is completely at odds with the character of the Punisher.
Yeah.
It is literally right up there with truck nuts for me.
But sidebar. I did send you the link, I think.
Yeah.
For our Crocs. You can buy truck nuts for your Crocs.
You did send me that link. And
feel like
Santa will have them in the stockings this year for the entire family.
Do good.
All right. Well, I think we have a couple other questions which we can wait that we were going to talk about just because we have been talking for a long time. But that was a lot of fun. A little more free form discussion there. So hope y'all enjoyed that and send us some more questions our way because we'll probably do it again. And also, if you've got suggestions for because I did get some good suggestions recently for our upcoming episodes and potential showdown topics as well. Send them our way on the Instagram at Halloween is Forever, at Hallow Forever on Twitter, Halloween is Forever podcast on Facebook, at Halloween is Forever pod on TikTok, Halloween is Forever pod at gmail.com. come. I did it, guys.
You fucking
got it.
did it.
Fuck,
Got it.
that's only the second time I've ever got it right. Yeah, we much appreciate all of that input. Anything else that we forgot about talking about? Is next week going to be our
Next week's the showdown.
Next week's the
Motherfucking
showdown,
showdown.
which is going to be Hellraiser, which we're doing a Secret Satan holiday Hellraiser showdown. If you want all the deets on that, listen to last week's episode on Blood Rage, where we talk about what movies our Secret Satans gave us, and then we will discuss them, we will vote on them, and then we will reveal who gave who these fucking Hellraiser movies. So they're all 2000s Hellraiser. Spoiler alert. But yeah, it should be a lot of fun. So tune in to check that out. And as always, if you want to write us a review on Apple Podcasts or anywhere you can write a review, take a little screenshot of it, send it our way, and I'll send you some goddamn stickers in the mail.
Just like
Jeez.
Vibes Cleveland got.
Yeah, just like, and listen, check it out on the feed. They're beautiful stickers. Beautiful stickers. Yeah, but I think that's all we have for you today.
Absolutely.
And for the Halloween is Forever crew, I'm Brian.
I'm Meg.
I'm still champ.
You fucking prick. Bye.